Hey guys, Shane here. So welcome to this painting tutorial. We're going to take a look at airbrushing Vallejo Model Color paints and how it's secretly easy. The game changer in this, and this is what makes it possible, is Vallejo Airbrush Flow Improver. So all the tinning is going to be done with the Flow Improver. So how I like to start off preparing to get my consistency right is I just fill the neck of the cup of my airbrush. Again, make sure you shake your model color paints really well. These have to be mixed before you add them to your airbrushes. And I'm kind of going for a 50-50 thinner, or should I say flow improver to paint ratio, or a 60-40 flow improver to paint ratio. Either works. And you can always add flow improver as you need it to improve your spray performance as you need it. Again, I just use an old brush here and I just mix it. And what I'm doing is, as I'm mixing it, I'll catch the paint and pull it up the side of my cup, just see how it flows. And I'm looking for like a milky consistency. And then once I think I'm happy with it, I'll just give it a quick spray check here on a piece of paper. And if I can get a fine pencil line, then I know I'm good to go. So we're going to be just working with these filters and fan systems from a Dragon Tiger 1. And as you can see, I've not primed this model anyway. This is bare plastic, and it also has a bit of photo etch on it. So it's going to be interesting to see how the model color reacts to it. So this base color of flat black is just going to go down on several thin layers. And I've set my PSI to about 20 PSI, or should I say 25 PSI. I do find that Vallejo colors, whether it be Model Air or even their surface primers, tend to behave better on high pressure. However, I am not putting down that much paint, just a little bit of paint at a time. And you can see it goes down very well. I'm getting some very nice spray control here. You know, there's not a lot of overspray, which is always a good thing. And it does go down very well. It's adhering to the plastic very well, including the photo etch. I was kind of curious to see how it would work with the photo etch, because I normally prime my models, but just I wanted to show that you can spray and spray well with model color paints, as there's a lot of ranting and raving on various different forums online and on Facebook of people saying, oh, you can't spray with model color, don't even try. That's bullshit. You can. People are using thinner rather than flow improver, and you need a flow improver for tinning your model color paints. That's the game changer here, guys. That's the flow improver. You can even use it for Model Air. Just put a drop in, and you'll even get nicer spray control. But that's a different video. Let's talk about, or let's keep on subject of model color. Again, it's the Irish winter. It is very, very wet and damp here, so there's a lot of moisture in the air. So the only way I can get my paints to dry is actually literally use a hairdryer. And what I'm doing here is I'm laying a thin layer, then I'll whip out the hairdryer, dry it to the touch, then another layer, and once I'm happy with it, I move on to the next colour. And I just keep drying it in between. It's just it helps speed things along, and literally is the only way I can get paint to dry. So I'm going for a bit of a red oxide effect here. So I'm going to take some Vallejo Model Color Dark Red. Again, red is one of the most notoriously hard colours to work with, especially for spraying. So again, I tint it exactly the same way. Either 50-50 or 40-60 depending. And I'm just laying it down on very thin coats. Now, on an accuracy note, the guys on the Tiger 75 group build on Facebook tell me after the fact, because I posted it after I'd done this, that these units were not red oxide on the real Tigers. I believe they were like an aluminium or like a metallic grey colour, they were saying. That's fine. I don't really give much of a shit either way, because you're not going to see any of this. This is more just as a painting exercise. And I kind of like red oxide and I want to experiment with it. So this is just standard dark red by Model Color. And again, it's going down really well. The trick with working with red colours too, guys, is to prime or base coat in black. You get your best results with red when you base coat in black. And again, I'm just slowly building up the colour. Not too much paint, just more air than paint, and I'm just building it up bit by bit by bit. The red is a slightly heavier pigment than the black was, ironically, so you can see it kind of goes down kind of blotchy in places. So if you find that, just add a drop or two of flow improver and just give and take as you need. but even then it still goes down very well. I was pleasantly surprised actually how well the red went down. I was expecting it to be a little bit more troublesome, but thin coats is the best way to go here. So I got a bit of build up here. I over tinned, so I'm just going to quickly dry that using the hairdryer. And I'm just going to add a little bit more paint to my cup. So if you get that you get this weird pooling, it means that you have too much flow improver. So just add a few more drops of paint to the cup. Again, spray check, dry the model off, and then just apply a thin coat over the area that you saturated. If you drowned the piece in paint just before it dries, take some paper towel or a kitchen roll and just wipe it away very quickly if you can. So again, I'm just going to dry this again to the touch, and then I'll add a new coat over that area just to blend that all back together. And as you can see, it's good as new. And what I'm doing really is I'm just still using the dark red, and I'm just building it up gradually. And that's the beauty of using the black undercoat and thin layers, using exactly the same color or highlighting it anyway. By just building it up in certain areas and leaving the black in certain areas, I can create really cool light and intensity values and really just make a very engaging piece. It's one of the really things I really like working with red, and you don't get a chance to often in scale modelling, or at least military modelling, to work with this colour. You can make things very vibrant. Out comes the handy travel hairdryer, just again to dry everything. So I'm going to add a little bit of a highlight colour, just using Model Color Scarlet. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drop a drop or two of Scarlet into my cup, and then I'll put a drop or two of Flow Improver just to compensate for the increase in paint. Again, I'm just looking for those fine lines. And I'm just going to refocus, just like doing basic highlights here. Again, this is a bit of a pointless exercise because you're not going to see any of this. However, I just really enjoyed it, so I just went I overworked this piece even though I knew I was never going to see it, just because I kind of enjoyed working with this colour, and I kind of wanted to show you guys what we could get working with model colour paints. Again, I've been really disciplined with this colour. I don't want to lose that dark, like the dark kind of undertones to this colour. As like, no, these red oxides are almost, I wouldn't say rust like, but they're very deep reds. And I really don't want to go too far away from that. And also too, this 0.2 needle really does make a massive difference. I used to use a 0.4 needle, and like my spray would go everywhere, and it really has like changed how I airbrush big time. So now I'm just going to move on to like the final steps of this little project here. So I might as well just keep filming and show you guys what I do. So this is like a big wooden panel here. So I'm just going to take some Panzer Ace stack uniform, and I'm just going to thin it down slightly with water, and then everything from here on is going to be paintbrush. And I'm just going to paint this into a very basic wood grain effect. So once the base colour is in, I'm going to switch over to these fans. I'm going to start painting them with flat black and oily steel, just to make a really deep, kind of almost gunmetal colour. Once the base colour for the wood is dried, I'm going to take some Panzeraisis New Wood and some Model Color German Camo Orange Ochre. I'm going to really heavily thin down these paints, and I'm going to apply them like glazes over the individual planks of this wooden slab here, if you will. And I'm just going to start mixing them in, keep alternating between the two colours and just mix them together, and I'll just get some interesting tones and values here. It's just a very quick and simple way of getting a semi-decent wood grain effect. You know, I really should put a wash over this again just to blend it all together, but again, you're not going to see any of this, and I just wanted to see what I could get. Again, out with the trusty hairdryer. And in the final weathering, I'm just going to take some AK engine oil. This is from their aircraft series, but it's just as applicable to armour. And I'm just going to kind of cover some of the areas with this, just to kind of make things a bit greasy and grimy. Again, I don't know how accurate this is, might not be, but again, I don't really mind. I just wanted this to be interesting, even though this is never going to be seen once it's installed on the Tiger. However, it was just a fun exercise, guys, and sometimes it's with these little units here, there's enough detail on them that you can just experiment, and it doesn't matter how it goes, because no one's ever going to see these unless you have the engine loops open, which I don't intend to. So it was just a little fun exercise in painting and weathering. And again, I just blend parts of it together just by dabbing with a cotton swab. And then I did the most time consuming part, and I'm going to really edit this down quite a bit. I wanted to add some dust build-ups here and there. And I had no real dust weathering effects, so I just took some Model Color Iraqi sand, heavily tinted down. It's about 10% paint to 90% water here. You could also use flow improver for this if you wished. And I'm just going to apply it a bit like a wash, but I'm going to really paint it into the areas I want. As I would imagine, since these are like air filtration systems, if you will, they're going to pull in a lot of dust, or whatever like their purposes, or their radiators. So there's going to be a lot of dust build up, and I'm just going to take my time, blend it in, and just experiment here with some dust effects. As I was kind of curious on how I could do dust, so I'm using this really as a test bed. As you know, if you make a mistake, it doesn't matter because no one's going to see it. So it's just a perfect learning tool. Now this step took a long time. This took me about maybe 20 minutes per unit just to do some basic dust. So if you're going to do it on any of your models with dust, take your time. You will get nice effects, but you really have to take your time. And it has to be subtle. Dust layer is done. This is what we're left with. And as you can see, the Model Color paints airbrushed perfectly. They went down really well, and I would strongly recommend any of you guys, if you're curious about airbrushing Model Color, get yourself some paints and some airbrush flow improver and just experiment, and you'll be very surprised the effects you will get. In some regards, it goes down better than Model Air, I find. So I really hope you found this tutorial useful and helpful to you. I've been Shane. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye bye.